The final frame of Stranger Things 5 isn't a shot from the show itself, but a slow pan across an empty, rain-slicked Hawkins street at dawn. In the documentary One Last Adventure, this image returns, not as a set, but as a real location, stripped of its monsters and heroes, quietly waiting for the next story. This is where our analysis begins, in the haunting silence after the storm where creation meets its echo. One Last Adventure, the making of Stranger Things 5, functions as more than a standard behind-the-scenes featurette. It is an elegy for a process, a 7-year collaboration between hundreds of artists that defined a generation's relationship with television. The documentary, structured not chronologically but thematically around endings, allows us to witness the emotional and logistical weight of concluding a saga that grew far beyond its creator's initial blueprints. Early in the film, we see the Duffer Brothers in the writer's room surrounded by a sprawling, chaotic mural that maps the entire series' narrative. A production designer notes they intentionally left the center, the conclusion for Season 5, blank until the final writing retreat. This visual emptiness becomes a powerful metaphor. The documentary suggests the show's greatest antagonist in its final season wasn't Vecna or the Upside Down, but the immense pressure of expectation and the terrifying freedom of a blank page. The documentary reveals a pivotal, unspoken production philosophy. For Season 5, practical nostalgia. While earlier seasons recreated the 80s through props and music, the final season aimed to evoke the feeling of 80s finale films, the conclusive emotional beats of The Goonies or Stand By Me, using modern cinematic language. This meant less overt homage and more focus on character resolution through camera movement and lighting designed to feel classically complete. A profound section details the construction of the Cruise Wall, a hidden corridor in the Atlanta studios where every department head and a personal memento from their 7-year journey. The documentary lingers on these objects: a frayed walkie-talkie prop, a child actor's first size tag, a schematic for the Mind Flayer drawn on a napkin. This wall, never seen on screen, became the emotional core for the crew, a tactile reminder that they were building a world, not just a show. The analysis of performance is particularly intimate. We see David Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown running the final Hopper 11 scene not on the Russian prison set, but in a bare rehearsal room. The documentary highlights how their performances evolved from protective father frightened child to weary warriors with a shared, unspeakable history. The rawness in this rehearsal space, devoid of special effects, underscores that the series' true spectacle was always the growth of these relationships. Cinematographer Tim Ives discusses the lighting gradient for Season 5. He explains how the visual palette starts with the familiar contrast of neon and shadow, but gradually desaturates and flattens as the character's journey becomes more internal and sacrificial. The documentary shows light tests where the warm glow of Steve's house becomes a cold, clinical white, visually manifesting the loss of innocence that the final narrative demands. A key piece of trivia involves the Upside Down's final design. The art department, inspired by ecological succession, conceived the dimension not as static decay, but as an aggressive, consuming overgrowth. Time-lapse footage of practical vines and organic matter slowly engulfing the Hawkins library set illustrates this. The monster was no longer an invader. It was the natural, terrifying conclusion of the rift the characters opened years prior, a theme of consequences made physically manifest. The documentary's most insightful analysis concerns theme. One Last Adventure posits that Season 5's central conflict is not about saving the world, but about defining what is worth saving within it. It contrasts footage of the kids' Season 1 basement campaigns with the war room strategies of Season 5. The game is the same, but the stakes are no longer fictional. The adventure has become real, and the cost of playing is everything. We see the special effects team wrestling with the finale's most abstract concept, closing the gate. It couldn't be another laser beam or explosion. The solution, revealed through pre-viz animations, was inverse. Instead of a blast outwards, the effect is a violent implosion, a suction of light and sound back into the point of origin. Thematically, this visual choice suggests a reversal, a desperate attempt to undo not just a threat, but time itself to reclaim the childhood the characters lost. The score receives poignant focus. Composers Michael Stein and Kyle Dixon revisit their original 2016 synth motifs, now weathered and fragmented. In the recording studio, we hear them deconstruct the main theme, slowing its tempo and weaving an acoustic piano, an instrument absent from earlier seasons. This musical evolution, the documentary argues, scores the transition from youthful synthwave excitement to a more somber, orchestral maturity. Perhaps the most atmospheric segment follows the final day of shooting for the core child actors. The documentary observes it silently, without interview. We see them in costume, then out of it, hugging crew members, and finally sitting alone on the empty Byers' living room set as the lights are turned off one by one. The sequence needs no narration. It is a pure meditation on passage, on the end of an artifact that defined their actual coming of age. The documentary doesn't shy from the burden of legacy. Producers discuss the conscious decision to avoid tying up every bow. A deleted subplot involving a future flash forward was scrapped because, as one writer states, the ending isn't about where they go, it's about who they became to get here. The analysis clarifies that the finale's power lies in its acceptance of lingering mystery, mirroring the unresolved traumas of adulthood that follow even the most victorious childhood. In its concluding act, One Last Adventure returns to that empty Hawkins Street. The crew is gone. The rain is real. The documentary's final insight is that Stranger Things 5 was an exercise in collective mourning for fictional characters, for a fictional town, and for the real fleeting collaboration that brought it to life. The making of was the crew's own last adventure, parallel to the one they filmed. Therefore, the documentary achieves something rare. It becomes an essential companion to the text it documents. One Last Adventure reveals that the greatest magic trick of Stranger Things' final season wasn't its visual effects, but its humanity. It shows us that building a world is an act of faith, and ending one is an act of love, a careful, painful process of letting go, so the story can live on, perfectly contained in the memory of the audience. The final shot holds on the vacant set of the Wheeler basement. It's just a room now. The dice are put away, the board games are boxed, but the documentary has shown us every scratch on that table, every choice behind each prop. It leaves us with this thought: the portal was never just in Hawkins. It was in the space between an idea and its execution, a space One Last Adventure allows us, intimately and insightfully, to cross one final time. Thank you for watching until the end. We pour our passion into every single video essay, exploring the stories behind the movies we all love. If you stumbled upon this video by chance, there is a very high probability you might never see our channel again in your feed. So please, take a moment to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and ring the bell. We are actively growing this community of cinema lovers, and your support is what helps us make our content better and more insightful every single day. Let's explore the magic of filmmaking together. See you in the next one.